Okay, I'd like to open the 5:30 August 27th, 2025 Sister City Council workshop. First on the agenda, we have a presentation or update from Lynn McConnell from HousingWorks. Welcome. We're excited to meet you and hear what you got to say. So
Thank you
take,
for having me.
yeah.
It does not sound like I'm close enough to the mic yet.
You turned it on, correct?
No,
That helps.
Yeah.
Is that working? There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to share my screen really quick. And then I have somebody who I believe is on the Zoom. My board chair would love to introduce themselves. So.
I don't see her on, just.
Okay, she is probably logging on, and then let me see if I can do, whoops. Sorry. From beginning. Okay, is that working? There we are. Okay, so my name is Lynn McConnell. Sorry to juggle the phone. My board chair said she would participate, Laura Cooper, and she said she would text me when she was on. So I'm keeping this right here just in case. Our flawless system might have a couple flaws, but just wanted to introduce myself as the new executive director for HousingWorks. I have been in this position since December, and I'm so thrilled to be part of this team and this organization. Some of you knew me from my prior role, which was with City of Bend, and I was absolutely thrilled to come to this organization. That was a deliberate choice. City of Bend is a great gig, and this is even better. So feeling like I'm a little more upstream even and getting some more work done, and very pleased to be here. Did want to recognize that it does look like Laura Cooper is on. Laura, do you want to, I'm on my first intro slide if you'd like to introduce yourself.
You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, but you're muted.
I apologize. Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Sister City Council and staff who are there. We are thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to visit with you for just a little while tonight. We like to come and talk when we're not asking for something. We just want to tell you what we're doing and see what we can do to better serve you. We are really appreciative for the support that you've given us through the years. We have two really beautiful developments in Sisters, and we're extremely proud of them. As Lynn mentioned, my name is Laura Kraska Cooper, and I am the chair of the HousingWorks Board of Directors, Board of Commissioners, and next summer I will have been on the board for 25 years. So it's an organization that I feel really strongly about and really proud of. And we very much appreciate the partnership that we've had with you through the years, and thank you for having us today.
Thanks, Laura. So HousingWorks' mission is fostering dignity through housing. We are doing our best to provide solid housing and secure housing for folks at all levels of the housing continuum, including the lowest incomes. We were created in 1977 by two of the counties. That's how housing authorities come to exist, is that the counties say we need help with housing, and they designate a regional housing authority or a county housing authority. That's us. Because we serve a tri-county region, we're not embedded in any one of the governments, but we are considered quasi-governmental. And if you really want to nerd out, you can go to ORS 456 and learn all about us. That is our charge. We are also one of the largest landlords in the region with nearly 1,500 affordable units throughout our Tri-County region. And through those units and the Housing Choice Voucher Program, we serve roughly 2% of the region's population. So pretty significant numbers need our services, and probably if we had the resources, that number would grow hugely. So our core programs are listed here. Our Housing Choice Voucher Program used to be known as Section 8. You may hear me refer to it as HCV. This is what I'm talking about. We also do quite a bit of real estate development around the region. The way we choose where to develop is a combination of opportunism, and I'll be very frank with you about that. If there's an opportunity, there's resources, we're pouncing, as well as really looking at the statistics of need across the region and ensuring that there's somewhat of a balance based on need, based on population, based on poverty for where our next developments go. So we try to do it very much through data and looking at need and sort of how things are coming together. And then if an opportunity arises, we pounce on that. Those opportunities, number one for us, I'd say is financial support through money, land. Those are the biggest drivers for us for development. Portfolio management has recently switched. We used to have an embedded, sort of essentially in-house nonprofit called Epic Property Management. The director of that needed to retire and go on to other things. It is not easy work. And we supported him in that and outsourced our property management to a third-party Cascade Property Management. We are still very much in transition with them and trying to get everything sort of nailed, but working closely to do that. In addition, we have some really phenomenal resident programs. Everything from what do you need today? Do you need a will or end of life planning? We can help you connect with that. Does your dog need veterinary care? We can help you connect with that. To homeownership and how to do that, which I'll talk about a little bit more in this slideshow. So Families Forward is our another nonprofit that we control, and that is a big part of our homeownership work. So this slide is something I actually created at the last gig, but I do think it's sometimes helpful to have. It's very complex. This is for Deschutes County, and the data that's in here is for the county as a whole. But most of us, I'm guessing, most of you on the dais would not be able to explain very concisely what is affordable housing. So that's the purpose of this slide. We operate really at 60% of area median income and less. That is represented on the left side of this slide, 60% AMI. And here in Deschutes County for a household of 4, that's $68,580. So that's that red line kind of down at the bottom. What that translates into is what folks can pay in either rent or mortgage on the right side. And so rent, that maximum, and HUD, the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, tells us nobody should be spending more than 30% of gross income on housing costs, no matter what your income is. Granted, if you're making millions of dollars, spending more than 30% is not as big of a deal as if you're living on Social Security, let's say. So folks can spend up to $1,715 in rent or a home price of $245,000. We all know Sisters does not have many of those homes. It is extraordinarily hard to find that, especially without a lot of effort to build it. And that's where we come in. You can see also some of the professions that might fit within those income ranges also on that slide to give you a sense of what we're looking at and who we might be helping. Again, this is household of 4. If somebody is a single person, that number is lower for what they can make in gross income and still qualify for our programs. These are a lot of your folks helping out with childcare, helping out with nursing assistants, helping out with your tourism sector generally in all of those contexts. For our housing choice voucher, this number is a little bit lower. It's actually 50% AMI, which I have in my notes and can tell you later. It's closer to $53,000 annually that folks can make as a household of 4. Any questions on this before I move on?
No, it's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just taking notes.
Yeah.
And I didn't adjust this to the Sisters median home price, but it may be right around there. This was a snapshot in time. Okay, this is the housing spectrum. And again, I think this might be somewhat helpful. I shamelessly stole this from a place called ResearchGate. So I gave them a little credit down at the bottom. But essentially, you know, folks may start off on the far left corner with needing homelessness services. And in theory, folks are able to progress through this continuum or spectrum of housing until they're able to release assistance and move into market rate rental or market rate ownership opportunities. Where HousingWorks really focuses is in the sort of yellow supportive housing up through below market rental and ownership. We do have some ownership units. Again, I'll talk about that in a little, but right now, because there's some great folks doing affordable homeownership in the region, we've stepped back from that a teeny bit to allow them to go crazy. We are here to support them, but we don't need to compete, essentially. They're doing great. There's, I think, 3 entities currently developing affordable homeownership in Sisters right now that I know of. So housing choice voucher is kind of towards the left side of that spectrum that I just showed you. In Sisters today, we have 34 total vouchers. 51% of those folks are either elderly or disabled. That's a huge portion of the folks that we serve through the housing choice voucher program. And the average household size is just under 3 folks. Oh. There it is. Whew, got nervous for a sec. So this is a little bit more about homeownership. HousingWorks in total has done homeownership for a long time. These are just the stats since 2015. We've graduated 79 folks off of that housing choice voucher program. to be home buyer ready. So that's a big deal. Folks who are at the lowest part of the income spectrum being able to do the work to get to a point of homeownership. And we do that in a wide variety of ways, including we have programs called a tutor home, Tutor, not the style of house, but what it does. Folks are able to reside in tutor homes, and we escrow a portion of their rent for them so that by the time they move out, not only have they experienced what it's like to own a home and the responsibilities that come with that, but also they have a little bit of money on the side to be able to put towards a down payment. And then we work very closely with Rooted Homes, which used to be known as Core Community Land Trust, with Thistle and Nest, with Habitat, to ensure that our buyers are ready for that next step and hopefully are able to support those organizations by purchasing one of their homes. The average income of our home buyers is only $40,000 right now, almost 41. We have 12 total homes in Sisters right now that have been purchased, and the average buyer age is 42. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. So here's where our multifamily properties are. We also have one that I'll show you in just a sec, single family development called Skygate, which is in Northeast as well. So Tamarack Village and Ponderosa Heights. And if at any point y'all are interested in seeing what those buildings look like on the inside, just let me know. I love to tour people around. It's something I'm very proud of. We do good work with development. So Tamarack Village, 33 units. Right now, that means 55 residents. There's only 12 children in there, which is kind of interesting. And 9 Section 8 or HCV vouchers, 23 senior and disabled households. So that is doing great service to the community for your workforce and seniors. Ponderosa Heights, also 48 units. This one has 94 residents. It's a little larger. And 14 senior and disabled household, or 15 Section 8 vouchers, 40 children. So lots of kids in this one. And then Skygate. And I don't think we've had this on a PowerPoint for you before, but this is small 7-unit development. 3 of these lots have resold, which means we've helped a total of 10 households. All of those except for one were previously renting in the city of Sisters before purchasing one of these homes. One family came from Redmond. Everyone else was already here and was able to move into this homeownership. The way that this works with very low income folks is what we call a land trust. That means that we, HousingWorks, or our partner entity, we have various partner entities that we work with on homeownership, owns the land and keeps that. And folks pay us a rent on the land while they buy the house. But the rent on the land, because we're not adding in financing costs, is actually significantly lower. And so the last home that I remember selling, and this was before my time as executive director, but I remember seeing the flyer and being amazed, was $175,000 for one of these amazing homes at Sisters. And folks then, when they're ready to move on, have a little bit of the equity that they take with them, but not the full amount, so that we're able to resell these homes again to another household that needs it. Does that make sense? These are Northeast, and I'd have to look up the street names for you, but I will do that and follow up.
No problem. Just curious.
Sorry? Somebody else knew more than I did. Jansen, thank you.
They're
City
familiar.
staff, the best. So with that, I wanted to wrap up just with a couple things. If you know of residents that are interested in applying to reside in our homes, for the rental homes, it's Cascade Management. You can find that on our website, which is housing-works.org. We actually have a great list. We call it the courtesy apartment list, that is of every single affordable development in the region and what some of the qualifications are there. So that's something you all may wish to provide to folks who are asking questions about renting in Sisters. Everything that exists right now is on that list, and we update it fairly regularly. So courtesy apartment list is a great resource for all of you. In addition, so Cascade Management, go there, fill out an application. If they will show you on our wait list which wait lists are, sorry, on our website. We will show you which wait lists are open and when new buildings are coming online so that folks can apply. That 60% AMI is typically our ceiling for how much you can make and still qualify. Sometimes it's lower, like 50% AMI. The other thing that's unique about HousingWorks is we're a mission-based organization, quasi-governmental. Nobody's getting rich from this work. And we suppress the rents as much as we can. So the state, when we use their financing, which is typically how it's done, will set a maximum rent amount that we can charge. Let's say for a 3-bedroom house, it's $1,500. Let's just say that. And what we will do is suppress the rents as much as possible. We're not looking to make a profit off it beyond just sustaining ourselves. And so typically, for instance, the building that we just opened last month in Bend, $1,500 was the max we could charge. We're charging closer to $1,000 a month. That is critical for folks who also need to buy medical care or some school supplies for their kid or healthy food or any sort of recreational opportunities. All of that costs money. And by trying to drive those rents down, we do it in a way that we can sustain our buildings for the long term and operate them, but that folks have a little extra money in their pocket as well. So that's really how we try to do business in looking at sort of the community need. Again, what helps us the most to locate in a community is money and land. Those are the things. Sometimes it doesn't have to be free land. It can just be land that is zoned appropriately for us and is of the right size, which is typically for our multifamily properties about 2 acres. And we like that sort of medium residential density when we can. So we're looking to put about 60 units on those 2 acres. The larger the site, the more amenities we can bring in. So at our next opportunity to work with you, we will ask, and I'd love to hear if you have anything to say, what else do you need? Do you need childcare? Do you need food supply? Like, what can we do to support the community as a whole? We have built a couple of different developments, Bend and Redmond, with Mosaic Medical on the ground floor, so that not only the residents of that building can access those medical services, but it's there for the community as a whole. And we're really looking at that. What is the type of housing? What is the type of population that you most need to serve? And how can we support them even better? And always open to have that conversation with you. Laura, is there anything else you wanted? Oh, sorry.
To sign up for that.
Yeah.
I love that you do the partnerships.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I toured some places in Redmond and saw that, and I'm really appreciative of it.
Thank you. And so that's a great segue to my sort of potential final thought, which is that our board of commissioners is made up of folks who are appointed by each county. And so here in Deschutes County, we have 3 current board members. They're all wonderful, but at some point they will choose to move on and do something else. And so we will be looking for additional board members. Please keep that in mind. If you have somebody who's motivated or interested, anything financing, housing, social services, we'd love to have a recommendation from you all for somebody who would be great to serve on our board. And we do have representation from each of our 3 counties, as well as a member of our board who currently receives services and is able to reflect on how we should be doing things better, which is really great. Did I answer what you?
Answered a lot of questions,
Okay.
for sure.
Did you
Looks
want to
like
let
have-
Laura
Sure.
chime in if she had anything?
Laura, did you need anything?
No, I think Lynn covered it really well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, didn't get all that. So you're now doing the renting through Cascade.
Cascade Property Management.
There
They
you go.
call themselves Cascade Management. They're based out of the Portland metro area, but they have a ton of staff here and they are continuing to hire if you know anyone who's interested in entering into this world.
And for folks who go in and do an application, there's no fee.
There's a fee for background screening, but we, again, just like with everything, we're suppressing that down to the lowest level we can. And what we're looking at is things like rental history, et cetera. We are more forgiving than other landlords on poor rental history. We work with all the social service providers in the region, but we do want to know sort of what is coming to us and what supports we might need to provide to those folks.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, quick question on Cascade Management. Do they provide like an on-site property manager? Are those at your developments, or is?
Great question. Today, no. Future, yes. And what they're doing right now, because they are understaffed, is rotating folks around. But
Okay.
the goal is absolutely there will be somebody in person serving our 2 rental communities here.
Okay.
We have to get to a certain scale, but we have that in Sisters. So there will be a full-time community manager as well as maintenance. And I'm trying to remember what the staffing tracker looked like, but I know that this is one of the priority locations to get
Okay,
somebody here
great.
full-time. Our former property management company had pulled folks back during COVID. And so it was a huge priority with this group to make sure that folks are on site. So as soon as somebody's hired, they'll be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So a question I've heard, and I guess I'd like it clarified too. So everything, stars align, we build something in Sisters. Um, are there ways to prioritize some of the apartments for people who are either already living or working here?
Excellent question. And also a very tough one
Yeah.
because there's not an easy answer. And what it comes down to is the fair housing laws of the United States. So you all know in the Civil Rights Act of 1968 or 8, I'm blanking right now, sorry. Okay, phone a friend, Civil Rights Act, Chapter 4 of that is the Fair Housing Act. And it says we can't discriminate intentionally or unintentionally, more or less, summarizing a little here. What we need to look at to determine if we can have a residency preference is the demographics of the larger community and how folks are coming in and out of town. This is somewhat of an exclusive community, which makes it hard, right? And that's cost, that's all sorts of demographics, age, race, gender, et cetera. And so that's the type of work that we do to determine if we can do a residency preference. The answer in Central Oregon so far is typically no. But what we are able to do is to have in-person open houses for the properties where people can drop off applications in person, get questions answered, things like that. We also do a lot of what we call affirmative marketing to make sure that the region itself, and this is all legal and encouraged, region knows what's being offered and folks who are here can get a foot in the door essentially. But it's very hard to say, nope, if you're not from Sisters, you can't be in this, you can't get the first choice, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So we have to just be creative about ensuring that we're getting the word out well and making it easy for folks to apply for the properties that already live here. And that has worked really well. I didn't pull the stats for the rental properties, but that's worked really well for Skygate. As I said, out of 10 families in the 7 homes, only 1 came from out of Sisters, and that was Redmond, which is maybe not too bad. So.
And what happens to tenants that, are upwardly mobile and exceed that 60%? I mean, and
Yes. So also somewhat complex. You're able to stay in the unit for a certain amount of time. And then hopefully, yes, you win the lottery, you become a rock star, you do any number of great things, and you probably don't want to have to continue to recertify every year because it's a hassle. We also have to inspect every unit every year. And we do things like, hey, this is a little too close to the heater. You need to move it. People don't love that, understandably. And so most folks, when they do have the opportunity to move on, will move on. But yes, there is a point in sort of a balancing test as to how many folks can be, quote unquote, over income after a certain time in any property. And typically it's very few.
any other questions or? So do you have anything in the hopper for Sisters or?
I am always looking.
Okay.
I'll say that. I am always looking, knowing that you have some other properties that may be coming online soon or getting developed soon in the affordable space. We're really excited to support Northwest Housing Alternatives if we can, and they need us. But absolutely looking for land at all times that is ideally below market. Again, right in that 2+ acre realm, or quantities of 2, multiples of 2 acres works well, and then we'll just do it over phases. And our board will be doing strategic planning in the next couple of months, and I think they will also develop the charge of what the priority sites are based on data, based on need, and based on what's been happening in the region. So yes, I would love to do a project here, and I'm continuing to look. If you all ever have opportunities of events or things that I should attend in Sisters, I'd love to come. Please let me know. It's a great community. And I'm so thrilled to be here today with some good hope in the air and a little less smoke. And we, I'm thankful in the path that was taken, there were only a handful of homes lost, which is heartbreaking for those humans. If ever that sort of emergency happens again, we're here to support you with rebuilding and with what happens next. So that is part of our role as well, to the best of our ability.
How long do your projects, so you brought up Northwest Housing Alternatives and, I've just watched how hard it is to get funding. And I'm just curious if you have like a easier line to funding or, looking at,
Yeah.
even though we do have things in the pipeline, you know, that takes many years. So it just having one thing in the pipeline that takes maybe 6 years, maybe it's good to have something else if
Absolutely.
we're able to do that.
Yeah.
So how long do you see your projects lasting in different areas?
The pre-development stage is the hardest. That's before you close on financing, right? And closing on financing for us is just like if you purchase a house and you close and go to closing and get your keys shortly after. Same idea, except that we have a whole lot of lenders and a whole lot of folks that have a finger in our pie, essentially, different grants, different resources. And so we get everybody on board. All the attorneys come together and talk a lot and then charge us all a lot. But they make the projects work also and get it there. So the pre-development is what takes the longest time. Once we're in development and we've kicked off on closing that financing, it's about a year for us to go from bare dirt to a multifamily development. That's what we've been doing pretty recently. We're very efficient in that way. Again, we're trying to save every penny. My real estate director is known by the region for being pretty tight with a budget. Sometimes that backfires because there's not everybody will work with us. It's a construction entity, but I think that's actually a really good sign. So typically a year once we get to closing to have a building ready for certificate of occupancy. That said, pre-dev can take a long time, and this market is a wild ride right now. And so what's happening here with Northwest Housing Alternatives and sort of coming back to the drawing board and trying to get really creative with financing is happening across the country, really. Having really high land costs like we do in Central Oregon in parts is challenging, and that's a piece of the puzzle. But sometimes what it takes is a little bit of stubbornness. We call that tenacity, right? And just continuing to work at it until the pieces come together. It's hard to watch sometimes, but that is sometimes part of the process when there are big shifts in the development climate.
Just put in a quick plug here for one of the council goals. We've been working on a plan to have like an affordable housing work group, right? To kind of advise and review some different options for establishing more funding to acquire land and also, assist with incentives and things for spurring more affordable housing. So Carrie's probably already talked to you a little bit about this, but I think having HousingWorks as part of that work group with some of our other regional partners in affordable housing would be great to have your expertise.
Thank you very much. Yeah, part of our charge is education and helping local governments and regional governments with knowing what the need is and what are the ways to overcome that. So certainly if we can help you at any point, we're more than happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely like your brain in the room.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. You all have my contact, I believe, through Rebecca and Carrie, and more than happy if you have any questions at any point or you need something from me, whatever that is, I'm here and eager to work with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great,
Lynn.
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Party wave there. Saw it. Okay. Next up on our workshop is the city manager review process. Process.
2 words.
Yes, 2 words. And Councillor Pellerin will walk us through this
Like-
with Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah, so Joe gets settled. I'll
Okay.
help introduce us as
Okay.
well. Going through the recent annual review process. Thank you, council. In that process, I think we all recognized it was probably time to refresh just how that process goes and the approach that the council takes in reviewing the city manager. So I want to thank Councilor Pellerin for taking the lead on that project and that effort to pull together the research, getting input from the councilors and others, and coming up with the best practices and updating our process here. I'll turn it over to Joe to maybe summarize a little bit more before we turn it over to Councilor Pellerin too, to kind of walk through the new guidelines.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, council. Just do a kind of a brief tee up here. I don't want to take any of Councilor Pellerin's thunder here. She put a lot of work into this process. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, this is always kind of a unique process as you experienced, just because of the nature of evaluating the city manager, not only for state statute, but just for, I think, the board and their ability to, meet together and things of that nature. And so I think that in the past, there was just a not a direct roadmap as to how this process went. And so I really applaud you all, and more importantly, Councilor Pellerin, and kind of going forward and smoothing out this process. So I'll let her go through the guide. But what you'll see is, a defined overview, goals, a timeline, and these are all things that probably weren't very clear before. So it's great that they're clear now. And then things like compensation updates, grading criteria, things of that nature. So it really does give, again, a great roadmap as to how the process is going to work. So the expectations are clear for everybody. And I think it helps out the city manager too, to kind of not be in the dark for the process per se, because of the adoption of the guide. So I think it really helps them in that respect as well. So I think, yeah, it addresses a lot of maybe the inefficiencies and ineffectiveness that we've seen before, and improves all that going forward. So I'm happy if you want to walk through, Councilor Pellerin, your guide, and I can kind of chime in and answer any questions as needed, unless you want me to do, anything else.
No, that's great, Joe. I think what I wanted to do was first just give a little summary of what the main changes were. Because you might read through this and go, okay, how is it different than what our old process? So I'll start with that, and then we can summarize through it. So the main changes were expanding the list of city manager responsibilities to be evaluated. So a little more emphasis on like fiscal management, for example, things like that, that I think are really key for us to be evaluating on. I summarized the implementation of city goals into one rated area rather than individually. We get an update of the city goals in January, February when we rework them, and then we get an update throughout the year. So I just felt that we can roll that up into, and then there's a place for comments if we felt we wanted a specific goal we wanted to talk about further or give feedback on. I removed the weighted ratings, added the submission of a self-evaluation by the city manager prior to the counselors filling out the evaluation form. This is Jordan's opportunity to toot his horn. And I think it also would help for some of the counselors that are new to city council that may not know all the accomplishments over the whole fiscal year, because we were only on board for the, half of that. So I think that's also helpful. I created an agenda for the executive session so we can kind of stay on task for that meeting. Extended it to be 2 hours instead of 1, because that was a little tight for us. So the first hour will be just for council, and then we'll have the city manager join us. I added a workshop to the process for the counselors to discuss on compensation changes, because that's something we're not able to discuss in an executive session. It needs to be a public session. So there would probably be some pre-work done ahead of that meeting with some ideas and some feedback from the city manager on preferences of what those compensation changes could be. But in the workshop as a council, we would discuss them further. And then finally, I just documented the process for future reference, because we don't have anything, I think, really written down on the process itself. Okay, so those were the big changes that I just wanted to point out. So if we go into the guide, I don't want to go through every sentence, but I think what we should do is just kind of go through the timeline, the process on page 3. And I'd like Joe to weigh in on where we might need to make some modifications. I had brought up, is there a public disclosure concern about the self-evaluation that Jordan would do or the city manager would do ahead of time before that meeting? Does it have to be brought to the meeting or anything like that? So this is kind of these little details that I wasn't sure about.
No, I mean, those things are perfectly fine. I think that the
Okay.
timeline is also fine. I think, like I was saying to you in some of my initial feedback, it's fortuitous that this works out to June 30th, at least in Jordan's case, because his start time was in July. And I think, if the time came where we had to modify this a little bit based on whatever contract is signed by the city manager, then we can update this
Yeah.
fairly easily and just kind of back into the date. So but it's great to at least have those dates kind of set in there.
Okay. And how important is it to align it to the fiscal year and the budget?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's, we start doing that in February and March. And so I plug a number in, and, we kind of luck out or we don't. So, but that's easy to modify as well. In the budget process, it's just one number that flows through the rest of that worksheet. So, no real, issue there.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions before we kind of just go through the summary process here? All right, and all this subject to change, this is just because it's written down doesn't mean we have to follow it exactly. We can make modifications to that. I know I put a lot on mayor. Mayor does this, mayor does that. Again, those are things I think can be allocated or to other people. I'm sure Joe could help a little bit too with maybe the worksheet in our executive meeting. But ultimately, I felt the mayor has the ultimate responsibility to make sure this evaluation occurs as part of our contract with our city manager. Okay, so first off, at some point prior to May 15th, city manager provides a self-evaluation. It's on page 3. And that would be provided to council. Step 2, each counselor will complete the city manager evaluation form by May 30th. And at that time, the mayor can request 2 meetings to be scheduled, the 2-hour executive session for the actual performance review, and then the workshop to discuss the final compensation decisions, if any. Step 3, prior to the executive meeting, the mayor will prepare the city county evaluation worksheet, which is an accumulation of city managers' individual scoring of each of the performance areas. And then we will have the executive session. And the reason for that report, that worksheet, is to help us see how we all agreed as far as a council. And if we had any outliers, somebody may have said, oh, I mean, he just exceeded all expectations. And if someone else says, oh boy, there was a lot of problems, we as a council need to work on that and figure out why is there such a big difference, right? If everybody's pretty much the same kind of a situation, we can just skip right over that and continue on. So the worksheet helps us visually see where these outliers are. And that was feedback from Councilor McDougall. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. And then we'll hold the executive session. Like I said, first hour will be city council going through and sharing all of our thoughts and coming up with an agreed upon final rating for each category. And then we'll ask the city manager to join us in the executive session. All of that by June 15th. And then the last step would be the mayor talking with the city manager, assuming they gotta meet expectations or higher. Hopefully we can look at some compensation changes as a reward, if you will, for that performance. And then we'll hold the workshop with those ideas being brought to us or preferred compensation changes so we can agree on those. And then I think the workshop, the city council meeting is where we do our final approval of those. Now, the workshop is, we hadn't done one before. I think, Gary, you were asking about that. So that's optional. I just kind of thought, I saw some other cities doing it that way, and it gave a good opportunity for everybody to still meet the requirement of a public meeting as we talk about compensation. Any
It's worth a try.
on that? Okay.
I mean, is that okay? Because we're making a decision.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes this is where staff can help too, because part of that conversation, usually adjustments come with like looking at the market comparables and things like that, right? So there's data that we can help bring to, make those adjustments based on things like the market and other factors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then-
Well, and I would say my experience with other elected positions and where we evaluate yearly as well as CEO. One of the things sometimes that the individual in your position wants or desires is something that we might not think about in terms of compensation. It may be additional vacation time, it may be contribution to retirement accounts, and maybe there's a lot of different things it could be. And I think that those discussions are generally amenable and pleasant. And the idea is if we have an individual in the city manager position that we wish to keep, we need to be sure that they feel adequately compensated so they don't have their ear on the next opening down the road. That's to our benefits, to the city's benefit, is to the staff who works in this building benefit. Continuity of leadership, I think, is critical. And I've seen what happens when you have changes every 2 years or so. It's very hard for staff, on staff. And I think for us, for the council to make progress on the things it wants to work on as well. So
Yeah, and
it's not all
decisions,
salary, I guess.
and right, and
Yeah.
the decisions need to be made in public, right, on any compensation changes. And keep in mind, city managers are contract employees, so there's things that are already agreed to in a contract, and it's completely up to the purview of the city council whether to adjust compensation or not, right? So that's why these are guidelines that,
Mhm.
you know, there a conversation can occur if it meets or not, but you know, budgets change, economies change, things like that. Like there could be cases where a city manager gets great remarks, you know, in the review, but it's a budgetary, you know, decision that, you know, we're holding firm and things like that. So just want to make that point too, that, you know, it's completely the council decision that is informed by a lot of different factors outside of the even the performance too.
Yeah, I think it's well documented here as well, so that if we all you know, were eaten by aliens tomorrow and a new council came in, that, you know, the next people would see that, like to say, oh yeah, we should be talking about things more than just salary with the city manager. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the level of detail in here without it being overwhelming. It's pretty concise,
Yes.
Okay.
but full,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, good.
complete. Thank you.
And I think until we actually run through it, 'cause we're not gonna open this up again till what, May?
May.
So, there'll just be kind of continuous improvement on it. And, I will hopefully be here to help with that.
Hopefully all of us will.
Oh, it's here.
There you go.
So, and then I had a section here that, the 360-degree assessment, this is optional for us to consider. I was, in my research, found that some cities would engage this in the event they were having some performance concerns with their city manager. And this is an option then to reach out to direct staff for their evaluation of the city manager, or even partners or partners. This is where you probably want to get a third party involved to kind of manage that, because you obviously want people to be able to openly say what they feel, and it could be a little hard to do that when it's your boss. So that would be my recommendation, and that be an optional thing. So maybe, you know, we'd have to talk about that towards the beginning of the year if there's issues, and say, you know, we might want to engage that now and start looking for a resource
Yeah.
to do that with, help us through that. Sometimes it could be the city attorney, for example. And just, I would just say last thing would be, this is not just a time during the city manager performance evaluation for us to evaluate the city manager, but for the city manager to give us feedback. You know, how are we doing as a city council? All right. It's a two-way street here, and it's really important. So I emphasize that as well, that this isn't just about us one way talking to our city manager.
Yeah, there was just two things in there that
Yeah.
I thought may or may not be changed. Under B, form. I think about organizational and, you know, I think also highlighting, you know, because it says hires and retains competent staff and development enhancement skills of employees. And I think maybe a bullet point also on, you know, disciplines or removes employees if needed. Because that's definitely one of the most challenging things any leader can do, and so.
So
Just,
doing performance evaluations of staff as well, right? Because that kind of
Okay.
leads up to
yeah,
having to
Yeah.
potentially put them on a performance improvement plan
Right,
and so
exactly,
forth.
I've done
Okay.
that.
yeah.
No
So I just thought that was,
Yeah,
because, hopefully that is not something one does frequently, Um, but it's just on there because that is, can be a very tenuous situation, and so you want to make sure that those situations are executed
Yeah.
properly.
great. Okay.
Yes.
And then under E, and this is just, me being, picky, but just when it says build working relationships with county officials and local governments, and I would maybe just include, state and federal as well. Cause I expect the city manager to be definitely working with our partners regionally, but really also being that conduit to state or federal officials too.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, that was all I had.
Anybody else?
A big thank you.
I guess, excellent. I think it's an excellent piece of work. And as I said to you personally, I said, the proof will come in the first go through.
Yeah.
We may tweak it a little bit after that because we'll run into any little bumps that may be in there. It's typical of something new, but I've always found the other evaluation that we've used in my 5 years of evaluating, not just you, sir, but also your predecessor, it felt limiting. And some, I don't want to use the word cold, but it just seemed very clinical.
Mm.
And I'm sorry to apologize to you in advance for not having some of those excellent spreadsheets to do our calculations for us.
Oh.
So, but I think this feels to me more personable and more, I would hope if I were the one being evaluated, that I would feel I would be getting more valuable information than an weighted average on a sheet.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about it? I mean, you've had an experience at least a few municipalities with this process, so.
Yeah, every city does it a little bit different. Obviously we borrow from each other and, actually went this year's, city managers, conference. This is one of the topics, right? Performance evaluations and setting a good process. And, I think Counselor did a great job in pulling from a lot of great examples out there. I look forward to drafting a 40-page self-evaluation.
Yeah,
But no, I do appreciate there's a little bit more
I
substance.
think that's
and
called
candor.
revenge.
yeah. Okay,
All
all
right. I'll
right.
make modifications, Joe, and then can I just send you the forms and
Absolutely.
everything to store somewhere on the cloud
Yeah,
for when we pull them back up again next year?
yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we're oddly, and for the first time, I think this year, on time. So yeah, we could either start leaning into some staff reports or just give ourselves the 10 minutes to turn over to the next meeting.
I think it's okay to take a break until the regular meeting. We will have that item at the end with the flat fire update, which, schedules a little bit up in the air until they can make it back from their briefing. So it might work out to have the staff updates and council updates since there's only like a few items on the agenda tonight.
Okay, well then I adjourn the workshop and the regular meeting will start at 6:30. I'd like to call to order the 6:30 regular meeting of the Sister City Council on August 27th, 2025. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Letts,
Here.
sorry. Council President McDougall,
Here.
Councilor Ross,
Present.
Councilor Pellerin.
Here.
All right, thank you.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, do we have any visitor communication today?
If you are on Zoom and would like to participate in visitor communication, please raise your hand. I see none.
Okay, thank you. All right, today we don't have any presentations either, so we'll just move on to the consent agenda.
I move approval of, I can't even talk. I move approval of the consent agenda.
All second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. First up in council business, we have resolution 2015-12, Housing Planning Assistance Grant for Code Audit. And this would be Scott Woodford giving us our staff report. Woo-hoo. We moved so fast, you weren't ready. Yeah.
I should have stumbled over my words a little longer for you.
Yeah. Sorry about this.
It's okay, you have 10 minutes.
I have 10 minutes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
you have plenty of time.
Yes.
I'll go sit down for 5 and come back.
Yeah.
Good evening. The first item for your review is Resolution 2025-12. It's a resolution to support an application to the Department of Land Conservation and Development for a housing planning and assistance grant. The purpose of the grant would be to get some help, consultant help to do a development code audit to identify areas where our code is not compliant with state law, specifically relative to housing, clear and objective requirements related to needed housing. I know of at least several spots in our code, and I'm sure there's quite a few more where our code is not compliant with current state law. We have a lot of subjective criteria related to housing that if we were challenged on that, we'd have to back off on it. So far, nobody has challenged us on that, but it's probably just a matter of time. And so we feel that we've known about this for a little while and feel that this is a good opportunity where current development, at least big projects, are sort of manageable. We're not seeing a whole lot of big projects, so this is a good time to kind of identify and work on code amendments. And so that with the submittal of that grant, the grant's already been submitted, but requires council support in a form of a resolution to submit to them. And we should hear something in mid-September about whether we're successful or not. And then consultant contracts would be assigned probably at the end of the year. So that work would start kind of in 26. The second one is also the same grant through DLCD. It is for assistance in our area planning work that we know is upcoming with the urban growth boundary amendment. As soon as we get a boundary adopted and approved and the actual formal adoption of the amendment, we would go into area planning. And we have MIG consultants on contract to help us out with that process. But as we have started to learn a little bit more about the detail, talk to our public works office department, our city engineer, we're talking to some other folks. We know that we're going to have a lot of technical analyses to do to eventually we're going to need to update our water wastewater master plans and our transportation plans. But before we do that, the area plan will kind of really dive into some of that, not quite the level of detail of those plans, but will help identify infrastructure issues that we need to be aware of and have a plan with which to how to accommodate all the development that we're proposing to be accommodated within the urban growth boundary over the next 20 years. So this would be kind of a money that we could use to hire consultants that are professionals, water and wastewater, as well as transportation, to assist and kind of advise through that process. So similar to the other grant, we need to have a resolution of support from the council. They factor that in strongly into whether they give out the money, is whether obviously the city council supports that effort. So what questions can I answer on any of those grants?
I have a question on the first one, and it's just a curiosity, like, how do they do that? I mean, do they just really read all the code, or
think-
or do you give them direction in there, or?
I think they, the ones that have done it several times kind of know where the problem areas are, and they can really kind of hone in on that pretty quick. In addition to us identifying the areas that we know that they should probably be looking at. And then they can also recommend model language that would kind of bring it into conformance. So that's another area that would be very helpful.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
How much is the grant for each
So
one of
the
these?
first one requests about $40,000. The second one is around 80. We're hopeful that we get both of them, but we might have to choose one or the other because I think I heard that they got a really strong response to the grant request. So they may not give us both of them. So we might have to, probably would decide that if we had to choose one, that the area plan one would be of higher importance.
And is this something we can do concurrently? Or were you thinking of doing one first and then one
We could do
later?
them concurrently, I
Okay.
think, yeah. They have to be done, both of them would have to be done by June of 27, I think. So wouldn't be able to wait too long.
When Meg was going through the concepts and working with the steering committee, they would score the various concepts. Did some of that scoring include looking at transportation and water and sewer at a preliminary level at least?
Yeah, we worked with our city engineer and our public works department. Obviously, they have a good knowledge of what our existing infrastructure is and capacity. So they were able to give some preliminary direction on where to go and like what areas would be problematic for serving. We obviously know that there's in this area, there's at least the eastern half of the concept A is lower in elevation. So we've been talking about the need for a regional pump station to be able to serve and get it back up to the treatment plant. We know obviously that there's going to be, if from past discussions, that there are issues with potentially dropping all the traffic onto Locust and the effects that it would have on the roundabout here. So, we know basically what the issues are, but this would kind of take it into even more detail and kind of know when these improvements would be kicked in and how much they might cost and how they could be paid for and all that stuff. Because we did this with, recently we had updated our water and wastewater master plan, but we didn't, so we knew that we were going to have growth in the next 20 years, but we didn't know where that growth was going to occur exactly. So that's why we're going to have to update those plans eventually. And that'll probably happen after the area planning process. What will happen as far as the area plan process is it'll come up with a list, set of policies that will provide some direction for further action that we'll need to do after the area plan to make sure that the infrastructure and everything is ready to go once we start entertaining annexations, or that there's a plan for it at least.
Are these grants going to cover them, or the cost 100%?
That's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I worked with MIG to kind of come up with a number that we thought would be sufficient to help with that process, help them with the process, and help us with the process.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll have to do these separately.
Yep.
Madam
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 25-12, a resolution of City of Sisters supporting an application for a housing planning assistance grant from the Department of Land Conservation and Development for a development code audit to ensure compliance with applicable state housing statutes and reduce regulatory barriers to housing production.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Okay. And then we'll just do the same rigmarole for discussion B here. Resolution 2025-13, Housing Planning Assistance Grant for Area Planning.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-13, a resolution of City of Sisters supporting an application for a housing planning assistance grant from the Department of Land Conservation and Development for public facilities area planning associated with the urban growth boundary amendment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion on 2025-13?
No.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Oi.
Aye.
All right, both of those pass.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, and then next up, I think we have a fire update. Is that
I
what we
think,
want to
I
do?
think we'll wait till we have folks from the incident management.
Oh,
team.
okay, I forgot that they were coming as well.
Yeah,
Are they?
so
Okay.
we'll go to staff comments and council comments.
Okay.
first, if that's okay.
But did we, this is on-call tree maintenance and removal services agreement, part of the consent
Yes.
agenda? Oh, it was, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That'd be food for a minute too.
Okay.
Okay, we can move on to other business and start with City Manager Wheeler, response to prior meeting public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the last meeting, there was many comments about the roundabout art process and in particular Red Rock Lane Frost proposed sculpture with comments about that particular artwork. Council had the workshop that evening on August 13th to discuss different options for moving forward with a process to select art for the roundabout. And from that discussion, staff is going to be moving ahead now with the consensus of landscaping the roundabout for now. There was no votes taken on any particular artwork that evening. Also at that workshop, Carrie Prosser discussed the public art program that we're working on. And part of that public art program is forming an arts advisory committee that she's already gotten started on and eager to kind of move forward with. And so there was discussion about working through our new art program and our arts advisory committee on developing a new process or a way to approach artwork in the city, including roundabouts. So that's going to be under development. We kind of talked about draft timelines on how that's going to take place over the next few months. And I know another thing that was discussed in regards to Red Rock and that proposed sculpture was having some conversations about alternatives locations, which some of those conversations with the proponents and committee members have started. So wanted to provide that update in response to those public comments.
Okay.
I think that was
All
it.
right.
That was the main topic.
That
Yeah.
was, wasn't it? Staff comments.
All right, so I'll start out tonight. Few updates going on. There's a lot of one major thing going on that we'll talk about later, but there's other business that we're still working on here. Joe and I met with Republic Services today. We've been working on one of the council goals about the future of the recycling center and really in developing different options and the costs associated with it with the recycling center, but also curbside services. We've had a couple of workshops with council on this in the past year with Republic. And so we're still moving ahead to have that on the council schedule. I think in September 24th, we'll have a workshop about those different options. So we met with the general manager and the finance director today. The municipal manager has resigned. So Republic's a little short-staffed right now. So it was kind of a key meeting to pull together right now to kind of see where we're at and what can be done. But we think we'll be able to provide you with some good options and information to hopefully make an informed decision about the future of recycling and waste management here in our community. Brief update on, question?
Well, I just was curious in your Republic discussions, have you also had some discussion with them about the relatively poor communication that has been occurring within the community? For instance, the billing, when at least 4 people say to me, why did my trash bill double? Well, 'cause
Yeah,
they went to
yeah,
every- But there was never anything telling the customer that it was going to be billed every other month. So things like that. It's distressing to me that this is a franchise that we offer, and I think the communication out to the folks that are utilizing this in the city could be a heck of a lot better. And, you know, I don't need Redmond's garbage pickup schedule. I need Sister's garbage pickup schedule. So just some things like that. And hopefully maybe with a new manager coming in, it'll get a little bit better. But I don't want to let them off the hook on this just because we want to have a discussion of what to do with the recycling center.
I will relay that, yes. Another issue that we've been working on and why our workshops have been at Dias is our audio is having issues, as you probably could tell from one of those last meetings with the microphone. So Rebecca's been pulling together some information. We probably will have a budget ask for making some upgrades to our audio equipment for council chambers. So just so you know, that's what's going on and why we have a handheld mic and things going on right now. But heads up on that. Tomorrow I'll be presenting some information to the Wildfire Programs Advisory Council. It's very timely. Admittedly, I haven't had a lot of time to pull together a presentation, so I will do my best in representing all the work that you all have been doing for our community and protecting them with defensible space and building hardening. We were invited because Sisters is seen as a leader in this area, and they wanted to hear how that's going with implementing these programs.
Jordan, what's
Yep.
the organization?
It's called the Wildfire Programs Advisory Council. These gentlemen might know a little bit more about that.
Is
But
it a state?
yeah, it's a
level?
state level with representatives from the governor's office, state fire marshal, about sort of implementing some of those, the Senate bills, you know, around defensible space, communication, building hardening. And then finally, this might be more of a conversation. So sorry, but I think we have a little time. Monday night or Monday afternoon was the public hearing for legislative concept 2. So the governor called for a special session. It's in session now. The Joint Committee on Transportation Reinvestment was reformed and is meeting, and that legislative concept was presented. There was a long public hearing, lots of public comments about it, obviously. I'm bringing this up because, you know, we have been approached a few times about support, letters of support. You know, I know sort of that timing is a little bit past now. A lot of folks testified on Monday from different cities and communities, LOC, AOC, you know, provided comments and testimony and support. This had come up prior during the session, right? Before the session about the council priority with LLC to advocate for transportation funding for the state and for local communities. And then when that became a bill, the question of whether to support that bill. So where we stand now is it is a legislative concept from the governor. Their governor staff is the one who did present the information. And I really putting this out there now because we do have the timing. If there is another opportunity to provide any testimony, does the council want to weigh in on this, or kind of let it play out at this point?
I mean, I do, and I know we've had differing opinions on it, and you know, if there's a place that we can get it, maybe to even just a very basic generic message, you know, that just we support the services that we have and would like to continue getting them. You know, I'd be fine with that. It doesn't have to be, you know, too robust. I mean, again, I don't even know if they're really accepting any more testimony or not.
I did not check to see if that was still as an open comment period right now or not.
Okay.
I think they're planning to have a floor vote on Monday, you know, Labor Day, this last I heard. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I guess from my perspective, yeah, I'm open to kind of a higher level support where we're supporting the concepts that we need to, you know, really keep our area running, as opposed to the types of I feel like in our role, I'm not sure it doesn't feel appropriate to say what taxes we want or where the money comes from. but saying that, yes, these are services we need in order for our community to function well, kind of separating the two.
Hmm.
And, asking for what we need. And, in my mind, that's what the legislature does, is they figure out where the money comes from. I mean, that's Sarah's view, so.
Okay.
I can roll with you either way. I'm not sure how much they listen to us over there. I do know that it's critical that we have the funding necessary to keep roads in this town intact, roads over the mountain intact. And I do have a budgetary concern that if we don't have funding for some of the road repair and maintenance on Highway 20, in particular Cascade, that we will have to do it ourselves, which means we will not be able to keep many of our city streets in the condition we've been able to keep them in all these years. That's the risk to this community, in terms of our budget and things like that. Right now, because Cascade is maintained by the state, we're able to focus on our secondary streets, et cetera. If we have to plow it, that's gonna take money away from the street budget that isn't there. And that will mean that we'll have lower levels of maintenance over a period of time. That's my biggest concern. The rest of it, we aren't gonna solve the massive drain on transportation funding that Portland is asking for and requiring, whether they need it or not. And that's where the votes are. So
Yeah,
I'll happily we'll get what we can get, but we've got to have enough funding to be able to not have to put our dollars into maintaining and plowing a state highway.
yeah. And maybe I should just couch it. Maybe it's not appropriate to ask for whether council wants to support at this point, given the timing and that. They had reached out to us, I think, over the weekend or right before. I think, given we're one of the 12 communities that is losing or proposed to lose our maintenance facility, I think they saw us as, hey, it'd be great to get your input. Timing just didn't work out with the council meeting and everything. And then the legislative concept, of course, comes out. So I don't think it's fair to put council in position without being able to review, the bill and everything to understand what's in it. And there's likely to probably be amendments between now and the end too. So I just wanted to keep you in the loop of, what was happening there, since this was such a high priority for the state over the last several months. Mayor, we do have some special guests here. If we want to maybe
Yes.
move the
We don't-
agenda around, we can come back to staff comments and councilor comments if we want to.
Yeah.
Maybe unprofessional and clap.
Okay. I don't know. I think they're tired of standing ovations. so.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
we're ready
I don't-
for it.
Yeah, let's do a fire update. I heard there was a fire in the area, so. We've got a few seats up here. We have one microphone because we're having technical issues. We got another microphone up at the podium, so whatever individuals would like to kind of come up and maybe give us a fire update. And what would be, yeah, what would, yeah, everybody can come up or,
And thank you for coming. I know it's a big ask. You guys are busy.
yeah.
It is a big ask, so thank
Be
you.
able to pull this off, or we had a council meeting this week. Obviously, this is the talk of the town, and appreciate you guys' time and making the time to come out and provide an update. And if the council's having any questions, just how things are going, and we really appreciate you guys being here. And
Certainly.
I think a lot of us had been either in person or zooming into the the cooperators meeting, so have some level of.
we're there Monday night too.
Their money.
And we're all Monday night, yeah, the community meeting. so.
Testing. Okay.
And if you have to jump up and run from the room, we'll understand. Hopefully you won't.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, thank you for the invitation tonight from your city manager, Mr. Wheeler. My name is Mark Prince. I'm a liaison officer with the Department of Forestry, Incident Management Team 3. And to my left, I have Dave Brown. Dave is our operations section chief for ODF. And to my right is Steve Chapman, and he is the operations section chief for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office for Structural Protection. I'm going to probably and behind me back here is Herod Zoutendijk. So if you have any other technical information, Herod is the public information section chief for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office as well. So we tried to come a little bit well-rounded for you this evening so that we could address any questions that you may have. I'm glad you were able to attend the meeting the other night or the community meeting at the high school. I was not able to attend that, but I think what we'll do is I'll pass the mic over here to the left. And Dave can give you a kind of a brief narrative of what the wildland side is looking like as far as the perimeter footprint. We'll transition it across here to Steve, and he can give you the lowdown on structure protection and some of the structure resources as they apply to this particular event. So.
Hey, all, glad to be here tonight. Again, Dave Brown with Team 3 here. So fire as a whole, we'll kind of do a broad stroke here. We'll begin on the north half of the fire, kind of back towards the heel. Things have begun to look really good towards the heel of the fire and that north half of the fire. Lots of resources engaged in there to secure those lines. And be sure we don't have any more spot fires or any kind of slop fire or slops with our lines. Fire is held for the last 2 days, no new growth at all. Still some interior unburnt fuels that are going to burn probably for the next few weeks, as things kind of clean up inside. Again, we're trying to prioritize all of our work kind of on the outside flanks of the fire to be sure that those are secure and that fire doesn't spread and grow anymore from its current footprint there. Coming down to the south half of the fire, that's the side towards town here. We have been trying to prepare for a wind shift. We're going to get should come in first thing tomorrow and be with us throughout the day. And we expect some more west and northwest winds. So to combat that, we have moved some resources down to the southeast flanks of the fire as well as the east flanks of the fire, just to help secure those lines for us and be prepared if we do see any control issues that with those winds. Again, the south half of the fire, lots of unburnt fuels in there as well. So they'll continue to burn on the inside, put up some smoke every now and then, but all of our lines are staffed and we do keep aircraft in the air the majority of the day just to keep an eye on things and be sure we don't miss any spot fires or any internal flare-ups that could be a threat to our control lines on the fire. And that's kind of the grand view there of the fire. Would you like any more detailed info or anything like that?
Questions? No, thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
I will say it's couple you mentioned air assets. When I look at Washington, I see that poor guy in the helicopter who keeps going around and around and around, just literally looping all day long, watching for stuff that may be popping up along that perimeter. It's for someone who lives very close to this area, right here in town, it's comforting.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah. And I know that's not cheap to keep the helicopter going in a circle, but
It's not, but the cost is worth it if you can keep your fire controlled and get a heads up if you're going to have issues out there on the line. So that's actually our air attack platform up there. So in the event we do start having control issues or see anything inside the fire lines that has begun to flare up a little bit and we want to cool that off with any type of aircraft at all, we can place those requests through air attack up there. And then how it works for the most part is or whoever's in that platform up there is in charge of those air resources and work with us on the ground to help to just cool off our flanks and be sure we don't have any control issues out there.
thanks.
And we've only had one drone incident.
We haven't had any drone incidents that I'm aware of since our team has come in. I know there were some issues at the start, especially during like IA. I heard there were some, but I haven't heard of any drone incidents since we have arrived.
Good.
Thank you, council. Thank you for inviting us here. And thank you for the wonderful community meeting that we had. The support from the community that we received was unbelievable. That's my first community meeting that I got to go to as in this position. And so to set the bar that high, I think I'm going to get disappointed every time after this. So amazing what you guys, the support that this community has given us. And I certainly know that the firefighters, it's not me that's out there doing all the hard physical work. It's the firefighters out there, and they're the ones that deserve that. And I'm making sure that anybody that I know and talk to gets a hold of that video and gets those standing ovations that they deserve. So I appreciate that, and thank you very much. With that, for the structure side, we've got 9 task forces during the day and 4 at night, which means we're along with our wildland counterparts, we're staffing this fire 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which can be tenuous, especially in the hot days. We're lucky to have some equipment and some community center that we can bed our firefighters down for that. And so again, your community center was able to be able to do that for our firefighters, and that's a huge lift for our people to be able to actually get some sleep during the day. So especially in these hot days. But they're doing really well out there. I think the collaboration between Wildland and us, they have a lot of horsepower with chainsaws and some bigger equipment that we don't have, but we have a lot of horsepower and water and hoses that they don't have. So the collaboration that we've had between the two has been amazing. It's been really seamless. And from the time they arrived and from the time we arrived, it's really been a seamless because we've worked with them before. It's been amazing. And they and everything's looking really good out there. We're getting at least 100 feet around all the structures today. We do have a small group. We have like 80 some homes in the fire perimeter that we have to worry about, and we have 9 task forces. So that's 45 apparatus, which we have to cover all that area. But we have to spend time in each house to just mop up around those, and it takes a lot of time. So using their resources, using our resources, we have to get to every house every hour or so just to make sure nothing, that we missed or sneaks up on us. So it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of hours out there. And they're coming black, all covered in soot every day now. So initially it's the fire attack that we did and we talked about, at the community meeting. And now it's the grind of just looking for every little hot spot out there, and the crews are doing a really good job, and we're looking really good at, getting that done. And maybe our glide path is going to be a little shorter than the wildland. So once the structures are secure and we feel comfortable that there's not going to be any issues with the structures, we're gonna start demobbing our task forces. And I expect that hopefully maybe this weekend to start demobbing those task forces and getting some of those people back home and to their families so that they can start getting ready for the next one, because it's been an interesting summer so far. Not as bad as last year, but it started off with a bang, and it didn't take long for this to just start cranking up again. So, and these thunder cells aren't helping us. So, but that's all I have to say, and thank you again.
I think another thing to remind folks, again, we're city government, and a lot of the people that are impacted are outside the city, but, we are a place where people can share information, and like another reminder of, how arduous the cleanup around the structures is, especially with snags, making sure that, dropping snags and, for your safety and then also safety of people coming back in of, the hot spots just aren't on the ground. They're also, halfway up a tree. So that just takes time. But yeah, we don't want anybody going back and getting hurt for sure. So thank you for all of that.
I don't want to forget to recognize the fact that you've got some heroes sitting in the back seat here too, from your local fire departments. And how the system works here is that, especially for the conflagration system, is they fight the hard fight for the first 24, 48 hours before they realize that they cannot maybe catch that particular incident and recognize that it's going to be too overwhelming before they make that request to the state. That takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit for the governor's signature. But what you have to feel good, at least about in this state, is these folks typically mobilize within 2 hours of receiving that call, start the march to the direction of where that incident is. Our team is usually in place within 12 to 14 hours, and we'll take the incident over within usually the first 24. So we come from all aspects of the state. We come from all areas and background sizes of organizations. And what's particularly unique about all of our teams is that it's all voluntary. Nobody is forced to be here. Everybody wants to be here. Everybody's here to serve a purpose and a common goal of extinguishing the fire and putting normalcy back into your community. That said, real quick, evacuation levels are changing to a degree. We meet, actually been meeting twice a day. The sheriff's office has been essential in that component with Lieutenant Garibay, the emergency services or emergency management lieutenant from the sheriff's office. We're continually evaluating that to make sure we're not becoming an impact to the homeowners of that area, and we're trying to get them back as soon as we can. They were essential in helping us put together a repopulation document, which is one of the first ones I put together, and I've been on the team 17 years this year. And it's a document that we're going to be handing out to those returning to the community of how to address water problems, how to address propane problems, how to call in smokes, how to address a number of problems, everything from water to septic tanks to burning trees and whatnot. And we've worked a solution out with the local fire department, Cloverdale and Sisters Camp Sherman, so that those calls will still come through the 911 system. They'll be notified. They've given our operations folks a radio so they can converse back and forth and determine whether this is just a flare up internal of the fire or whether or not they actually have another problem someplace else that they continue to respond to. So there won't be a delay in that response. So the coordination effort has been really strong. It's been very appreciative. And I think that has led to the strong success of this mission here. So I don't think I have anything other than that, but we're more than happy to answer some questions if you like.
Well, this is the first time I've been a watcher, you know, that watching the meetings and listening, and the level of professionalism at all levels is amazing. And I'm so appreciative, and I'm appreciative that people put whatever might be going on, you know, on a personal level aside. And I have to imagine that it feels incredible to be part of a team like that. I mean, just, yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I second that. Obviously, I've just been so impressed with the collaboration and how organized everything is, and you guys coming in to help us. It's just, nothing felt better than driving by all those trucks from all over the state. It's just amazing. And I want to say too that as a city council, we're committed to, in fact, it's part of our 25, 26 goals to work on wildfire mitigation and reduce that risk. We've developed some defensible space standards for our new development. Our next step is to start talking to existing homeowners and spread the word on defensible space. And I think now's a really good time. We're going to take full advantage of this. So we're committed to not put you guys out of a job, but
We would appreciate it if you would.
save some homes, help you save some homes in that manner. So, and thank you again.
And just a quick comment, you know, to me, the thing that this was different than some of the old ones I've been, since I've been around, is that this is the Ring camera generation. And I don't know how many people showed me Ring cameras at their home, especially folks up in Whiteous, where they'd call in and say, there's a tree on fire, and about 3 minutes later, there'd be somebody out there with a hose putting water on it. Unfortunately for your guys, there's no Ring cameras in the trees along the way out there doing the dozer lines, but I think that it shows the public that this is taken very seriously and that the response is significant and large. And in spite of some things that were said in the very beginning about response to stuff, I thought the most appropriate part of the meeting the other night was the first 5 to 10 minutes discussing the timeline. Because I don't think people really understand how quickly that timeline had to come together and how quickly it moved to do the things it needed to do. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to your teams out there as well. But I do think this is interesting because citizens are seeing, oh, this is really working. People are really doing that, you know. And if you have to wash some retardant off your roof, you still have a house. So pink is neat.
You made a comment about, real quick, about Firewise and the preparations of that. And for the first 10 years of my participation on the team, generally our fires would run anywhere from 8 to maybe 25,000 acres. And we would have one that was more than that we could count on one hand. And probably since 2020, I can count on one hand the number of fires that we have had that have been less than 100,000 acres. And I've all been 100, bootleg was 411,000. And it was kind of unique. And I'm not trying to be a skeptic here, but you could watch the climate change move from Southern California, just chunk its way north. And now that situation is in your backyard. So good on you and kudos to you for focusing on that and hopefully being a successful tool in preventing some loss of homes in the future.
And thank you. Okay.
Just a note on the Firewise, I know that some of the community is Firewise, and they actually helped us in some of that where the trees were limbed up already. And it made it easier for us to go in, and we were doing the point protection. There was a lot of good community free fire conditions that actually helped us do that too. So I don't want them to go unnoticed, because that part of us being able to save a bunch of those structures and not have to worry about them was because there was Firewise people out there that actually did that before we arrived. So I just want to make sure that that's noted. So
Thank you. I thank you for working on the repopulation information. That's definitely, you know, we were starting to get questions about that. Again, fire's not in the City of Sisters, but you know, we are the hub for the community, so we've been trying to lean in as much as we can. So that'll be fantastic resource for everybody. I want to reiterate that you know, no lives and no major injuries, no lives lost, no major injuries. You know, a lot of people had to move out of that area, not highly densely populated, but still a lot of people living up there. A lot of animals, a lot of rigs, and you know, huge kudos to the sheriff's department, and you know, the IA crews, and the team coming in. You know, that's my number one fear. My number one goal is that I know that our community will be threatened by wildfire because it's sisters, and that's just life here. But I cannot let any of those deaths in Paradise or Lahaina or anywhere else, you know, go for nothing. You know, I mean, people died, and we have to learn those lessons. And I'm not going to let anybody die on my watch. I'm going to try my darndest. So um, I'm really happy that that is kind of how this rolled out. Um, and just to let you guys know, you know, Councilor Pellerin was talking about a lot of the work that we're leaning in on here, and I just want to let you know, because a lot of this stuff is to make sure that your jobs are easier. You know, you're risking your lives, so we want to make sure that you're safer. And we've also started convening, or one of our planners started convening a cooperators meeting, a monthly meeting here in our city, and then that, you know, brings in Sisters Camp Sherman and Cloverdale and ODF and U.S. Forest Service and fire marshal and electric co-op, and just all of these people. Once a month we get in the same room, and everybody in there said that they've really been enjoying that, because some of those people work together in different pods, but actually to get in a room together and talk, and they've been really appreciating that, as our city staff has as well, because you know, we were a little bit kind of behind on that partnership. So yeah, we're really leaning into this, and you know, wanting to keep our community safe now and into the future, and keep you guys safe too. So and then, and just one last thing, just because I've been going to all the briefings, and a lot of chance to be talking to people from local, state, and federal government, people giving us phone calls and well wishes. And so I tell them two things. One is that, in my experience, I used to be a wildland firefighter on the kind of the federal side. And um, I know, watching this response and knowing everything that came out of Senate Bill 762, besides a map, all the other things, and you know, the money, the staffing, the equipment that has been spread out throughout the state. I It was palpable for me watching this fire response. And I know that if we had this fire 5 years ago, it would have been phenomenally destructive. We just would not have been at the place we are today. And I just am so elated that, you know, people at the State House, you know, people in our communities kind of got together, so we got to do better. And we did better. And this is a result of it. You know, there's losses, and it's really tragic, and a lot of people, a lot of property damage, but again, no lives lost, minimal losses, and just because of the fabulous coordination, especially at the state level. So I'm telling everybody I can that story, and also the defensible space story, and that, as always, because it's part of the job, you know, hey, the defensible space is working really well, we're working really hard on it, and we could use more money, so. um, so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you to to kind of take back to your crews. So, yeah, anything else?
I just want to say thank you for coming at a time of the day when you probably all would rather be laying down or just taking a 10-minute break or a breather to drive all the way in and chat with us. It's important to us. And I know it's a sacrifice for you guys. I truly do, because you've been busting your hind ends for several days and it wears you down. So thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do our local resources want to chime in on, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to just kind of get your opinion on what you were seeing since they were in it to win it. Thank you very much for coming out.
The amazing gentlemen that just were up here talking about some of the things that actually, I'll pass it to you, I promise. We'll get Steven started, but the early mobilization of this was, I think, was what was key to getting things started, and that's because of the plan that's put in place. Within 12 hours, the declaration was already signed and ready to go, and that's why the teams were moved in so fast, because of the potential, even though some of the key trigger points with structures involved or potentials for them were there. They really weren't up there, but we decided to mobilize really quick and sign that declaration, and we're glad and we're lucky we did. There's another beautiful thing that's happened in here. There's a regional coordinator for OSFM that's local here. And it used to be on the other side, it was a little more difficult to get a hold of folks from the state fire marshal's office, but they have a regional one here now that is in contact with us weekly, and we talk kind of almost daily when things like this are preparing to happen or we see conditions that are right. And he was on the phone with me directly when this was happening, and as defense board chief, myself and Bill Booth for the week, and we responded up there quick. But that position with the state fire marshal's office, how they've had it, helped out tremendously with us. And then ramping up to the teams that are here today is a reason why we're so successful. Another thing I wanted to touch on is, I think, what you guys have done well as the city, and it makes a huge difference, is passing the defensible space code and then moving forward with the R327. Those things are going to be critical when it's coming, like we're going to be seeing winds tomorrow and the next day coming from the west. And that's what we worry about the worst from here. So the funding mechanisms that we can and the collaboration to work together to continue the mitigation efforts is going to be key to us in the city, and for our fire district, it extends out. And you can see that. You mentioned some of the efforts that happened in that White's Canyon area. You go around there and you see all the piles that the work has been done from that subdivision out there. They knew that it was coming. They got together, decided they wanted to be firewise, and did the project. That helped out a lot with that whole area. And there's a whole lot of homes that are saved because of that. And I got a chance to go out there with the state fire marshal today and Senator Broadman and look at those areas, and you can see the treatment areas that were done out there and why it didn't move so fast through those, and gave the firefighters a chance to get in there and get their skidgens and the dozers in those areas, and getting rid of those ground fuels. So that work and the city moving forward to push that and be a leader in Central Oregon and really in Oregon in general, as far as getting these codes moving forward faster, it makes me feel good for a new person to kind of come in here and know that it's important for you guys that we move forward on that. Stephen was just telling me today that we're up to 30 communities in here that are in good standings in Firewise, and we're moving forward on that. And then 2 are in the queue again to move forward also. So helping support to the OSFM and the staffing grants. So Stephen is a result of that. And it's that halftime position, and we are going to be looking at funding. How are we going to keep supporting that? Because we're on the last year of that halftime staffing grant. And then how do we keep that? We've obviously recognized that it's very important. We need him, and we can use a clone of him because there's so much work to do, obviously. And so moving that forward, that's going to be something that we're looking at as a district to continue the efforts of what you guys are doing and expanding all the way out into our fire district. So we would ask for support in that as we move forward also, and then getting with the legislature to make sure that there's funding continuing through the state fire marshal's office for these programs that are having a difference. Our engine, the new engine, that's the other part of 762. As you've seen out there, and if you had a chance to drive through all those beautiful white Type 3 engines, the bigger wildland engines, that's a result of that bill. And there's many of those that are out there in those areas that needed to be out there and fighting the fire. And that's because communities like Cloverdale, even ours, and some of them that can't afford those engines, they're very expensive now, very expensive. And you can't just get them built in a couple of weeks. They take years to build now. So continuing to have that funding, I was just heard this year that wasn't funded this year to them. So it's kind of sad to see, because it's been very effective and there's a lot of communities that can use those. So how you guys can move that forward is the support and writing into them to continue to all these different communities that need that. If you support that and you're talking to your contacts to help see and move the needle towards keeping those funding or those revenue streams coming in. So if you have some.
Yeah, I would just comment that, 2 years ago when Stephen came on the Fire and Life Safety Division, I started as a fire marshal under Chief Johnson and been supported by Chief Pryor, that, we really put that effort into defensible space and educating the community of sisters and everybody around us. And for the last 2 years, you've seen us do those wildland seminars. We've had meetings with our constituents. Stephen meets weekly with HOAs, just sharing that message about defensible space. And with that, I think we had a very unique experience this weekend. Because a lot of those homes on Mountain View Road in Whitefish Canyon, Steve and I personally did wildland assessments on those homes. We gave them the recommendations to go and do the mitigation work. Saturday night, Steve and I found ourselves on a fire engine, which doesn't happen very often. And we're on those homes that we already assessed, and we saw the work that those people had done. And then we saw the fire come out of the canyon towards those homes. And the homes that didn't have work, that fire was pretty intense coming out of the canyon, bumping up on those homes. The ones that had tree thinning, that had defensible space, when that fire hit that zone, the fire was less. It was just not as intense, which gave our firefighters a little better chance of keeping that fire off the homes and keeping it moving around and keeping it moving to the next home. So I think being able to see that, Saturday night, we were on a home that didn't have a lot of defensible space. And that was a pretty scary night. That was a night that we had a lot of fire around us, going, and to keep that home safe, we did. But I sure would have liked to have more space out there, more thinning of the trees out from that home. So I think it was unique though for us to do that work, do those assessments, and then see the results of it on the fire line.
That's amazing.
I think that's all your notes.
Okay. Yeah, started July of 2023. That year we did 30 home assessments. I got a little smoke in my lungs still. 2024 we did 140 wildland fire home assessments. This year to date we've done 230 with 7 requests since last Thursday in the queue. So our story is, as far as doing these home assessments to get people ready, and the most important part of what we see is that 0 to 5 foot defensible space, which we and you guys have looked at pretty hard and looked at materials as well as what we want to see in the 0 to 5 foot defensible space. So my perspective on the fire is I was up in Whitefish. I was on Wilt Friday morning. We got moved up to Mountain View Road because the fire was pushing over the Buffalo Ranch and it was gonna hit, Wedges Canyon Estates. And so we got pushed down to the very end of it, Wilt Road, and, the first house we came upon, luckily the house had great defensible space. We got out, we didn't realize what was coming at us. It was behind the home. So we did a quick assessment of the house, took a couple things away from the homes, like, chairs and, mats in the front door, things of that nature. And by the time we got to around to the other side of the house, the fire was coming at us about 60 feet high and about 30, 40 miles an hour coming towards us. We didn't have time to even deploy our lines before the fire was at the house. And, within 15 seconds, the fire was gone. We got water on it and it passed us. And that's, I think, unfortunately, where the two other homes got burnt, because we didn't have enough resources up there to be at every house and it was moving so fast. So like Jeff said, we were working on, defensible space. Obviously, the White's Canyon, Firewise has been very active, proactive. And what we did see as firefighters is going up on homes and seeing that the 360-degree wildfire checklist that we hand people when we do these wildfire assessments were to get things away from your home, the stuff that you live with during the summertime, your cushions on your chairs, a wreath on your door, doormats, things of that nature. A lot of stuff, wasn't done on a lot of the homes we went on. That takes a lot of time, especially if we have seconds to do it. We start throwing furniture off two-story decks, just waiting for a fire to come to us. And we did that, expecting the fire to come right over the ridge. Now, on the one house that we spent about a half hour moving furniture, fire never came over the ridge. When we went down, we got moved down to, Panoramic. We had house that had kind of some defensible space that had been done outside the house, but right up against the house, it was hours worth of our labor moving stuff that was gonna light that house on fire. Luckily, we had a water system working for sprinklers. We got everything off the decks, and underneath the decks, piles of stuff, garbage around, and we saved that home, with fire on four sides of us. And it was, like Jeff said, it was a lot of fire all around us, pretty hairy conditions, but we had time to plan for that. And so we do these, home assessments, we give the people all the information, and what I'd like to see is more action. And I think times like this, they get heightened interest in these types of things. The Firewise, we tell people, look, it is voluntary, but the reason why you're doing it is because you want your neighbors to understand you doing action will help them. By them doing action, it'll help their neighbor, and so on and so forth. It kind of has to spread. And so, it's a voluntary, program, voluntary numbers, everything is kind of, what, we're going to try to make this the best we can to provide a safe neighborhood, because we don't want to be Detroit, we don't want to be Paradise, we don't want to be Palisades, we don't want these home-to-home ignitions. And so by preaching this, we continue to hammer a message, which you guys are starting to do. Some retroactive code would be great for in town, because we have a lot of fuel in town and a lot of homes that are close together. And, if you understand what we see on a daily basis, then you start to recognize that we're behind the ball game here. And so, we're going to continue to hammer this message, because we did see great defensible space on a lot of homes, and we saw a lot of work. A lot of firefighters had to do a lot of work, and and to have all these different agencies come in here and help us save our town was just phenomenal. It just, the guys would, they recognized us because we had Sisters Fire, and I'm like, thank you for being here. And we had a great response. We had great air shows. A lot of things went right. A lot of things were pretty lucky in weather. And so we survived what we thought, that we always talk about it's not if, it's when. We always talk to people about that. This is that time, and we're gonna see this again. And so we're gonna keep pushing. And like Mayor Jennifer says, we need funds to be able to do this. And And so we're pushing at our department to be able to try to help our town out with air curtain burners, with different programs, not necessarily home to home grants, but something that's more substantial where we can do bigger work and provide protection for our town in bigger ways and let the homeowners understand that they've got to do their part while we're doing our part. So we're just thankful for your support. We're thankful for our partners, our agencies that, we work seamless. We're different than a lot of areas in the other state where we have these meetings on a monthly basis where we all work very well together and it's all hands on deck. And then all of a sudden we get firefighters from Almsville from our past fire life where we're all together once again and they're helping us out. And it's really heartwarming to see that. It's heartwarming to see that the job I've been doing for the last 3 years is starting to pay some dividends. We got a lot of work to do. So we're going to keep pushing forward. But thank you for your support.
If you guys have time later, we'd love to take you out to the home at the end of Mountain View and show you, there's great defensible space around the home and what the difference means with the R327. Because we may find what actually we think started it, caught that on fire, but likely it's the building construction. Whether it was a material, they had a metal roof, and even when you take some of those precautions, if it's not a whole package of what you're looking at for that, you just put it at a higher risk in there, and that's the case on the home that's out there. It's very unfortunate, but we can look at some of those and some past pictures to see those kind of things that you guys are working on is very important on the next phase past the defensible space.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I think.
That'd be interesting, yes.
Definitely. Okay, yeah, we can talk about that later through Jordan.
Yeah,
Probably.
that'd be great to set up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for us, I guess,
Thank you again for coming and, taking the time. I know you guys are probably exhausted and, all the hard work you put into saving the town. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. Just to echo, you've heard me say this before, and I think the mayor said it too, of just the advances we've made in the coordination in the state and the response, going through the 2020 fires and, in a different part of the state, but, seeing this response and how fast and how coordinated it was is pretty impressive. And I think citizens need to understand that. And, we were sitting in this room in May going through an exercise where we had our partners here and we're going through a scenario. And I think that scenario was coming from a different part of town, but, we only had an hour, but we went through a lot of these steps and, and here we are just a few months later. And, one of the things that was said, I think from, Tim Craig was, likely coming from that direction, where it did. So you guys had, again, a lot of great knowledge of the fuels and the situation and everything, but kind of playing through that scenario and what happens and what the role of the city is and what the role of the different agencies. I'll tell you that's very helpful. And I think it was helpful for council too, because here we are going through an event, and we had the partnerships, the relationships. I knew who to call. I knew how the information was going to be flowing. Keeping the council informed, keeping the community informed. Thank you to the PIOs showing up and helping, keep our community informed about what's going on. And just how, you answered the phone, when I had to call and find something out. You guys answered the phone, DSSO, the liaison officers. System works. It's pretty impressive when you see it in action. Yeah, there was some luck, but man, you guys were doing a lot of hard work. 1,300 personnel in this fire to come here. All the different, departments, and I recognize those trucks from different parts of the state that came here to save this town and hundreds of homes out there. So thank you.
Yeah, it was funny that those very conversations is, have you guys had a delegation of authority ready and thought about those? And it was funny, there's nothing funny about it really, but 6 months ago, we were having that conversation or mentioned that very thing. And then you guys attended the first regional training that we had that you both attended, the mayor and yourself, with those agencies talking about these various scenarios and getting them together and going into different breakout sessions and culmination of events. And let's go through it and talk through it to get people ready for these. That's what happens. We were able to mobilize faster because of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
Thanks,
go get some
Dave.
rest.
Stay safe, please.
Okay, hard to follow that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, do you want to?
But you know, there's exciting other things going on at the city though, right? We got more staff comments.
Let's talk about pump stations.
Yeah,
Well, we can, I
Yeah.
can start queuing up staff, do a quick couple updates. I think Jackson has a couple, updates to share. Scott has a couple updates to share, sure. Urban growth boundary stuff probably, and some other things. Want to come up, Jackson, or, yeah. Um,
So yeah, just a few quick updates. 2025 chip seal project is substantially complete. All that remains on our end is one more crosswalk over by Barclay in the Woodland subdivision. They plan on striping the 3-lane cross section sometime early next month. Once they have the striping in, we'll get our last crosswalk in, and that'll be it for our chip seal project this year. The forced main aspect of the West Side Pump Station on Jefferson Avenue will begin next week. We're looking at September 3rd. Notices have been distributed to adjacent property owners. They will be working in sections to minimize disruptions. The contractor will communicate with adjacent property owners as they're moving down that corridor. And they are aware of Folk Festival, so they will get that corridor cleaned up and safe within a few blocks of Village Green Park, just to not interfere with that event. The roundabout landscaping project has been put out to bid. That was August 19th. Bids will be due September 10th at 2 p.m. On the topic of landscaping, I think we're looking at 30% design review for City Hall landscaping sometime next week as well. Those are the big project updates, kind of tying into the conversation we were just having. Public Works staff did provide hydrant meters for use by the firefighters. We designated 3 areas, potable water use for the fire camp at Creekside Park. There's another fire hydrant meter at the SPRD Community Center for the firefighter units. And then we have a tanker fill station at Well 3 on Sun Ranch Drive. Just designated areas so we don't overdraw from our system, reduce our pressure too much.
and are those being used a lot?
They are.
Okay.
And we've also designated a gray water dumping area for them to use as well for their fire camp. That's all I have. Do you folks have any questions?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jackson.
I will say, Jackson, there was a line at the dump station at the Gateway Park and Transportation Hub the other day. 3 RVs waiting to use that sucker. So that's definitely getting picked up now.
Yeah.
I think the majority of the time I drive past there, somebody's using it. So it's definitely getting a lot of use.
If you build.
Exciting action in Sisters.
I know.
And it's been great for the campground too.
Yeah, it really, I've seen a lot less traffic in and out of the campground of RVs and stuff, people coming in, and it makes it a pleasanter time for the folks that are staying there.
Yeah, the camp hosts share that information with campers there, or folks that are looking to dump, and they're always excited to hear that there's a dump station outside of the campground.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So just your UGB update, yeah, it's standard pretty much these days for me and for a while now in the future. But we, on the 21st, the Planning Commission had an opportunity to consider the recommendation of the Urban Growth Boundary Steering Committee, and they had a presentation. We heard public comment. We had about 10 to 12 folks that provided comment. There was a little snafu with the folks on Zoom that weren't able to provide their commentary for some some issues we had going on. But several of them had offered written comments so that the commission was able to hear, to get their comments ahead of time. And then there's still an opportunity. We told folks if they still wanted to provide comment, there would still be an opportunity at the council to provide public comment. But the majority of the people that were here, all the people that were here that wanted to comment had that opportunity. And so the commission voted 5-0 to forward the steering committee's recommendation unchanged to the council. And you guys will be hearing that on September 24th. You'll get an update on everything that's proceeded up to this point. So if you approve it that night, then we would move pretty quickly into the adoption stage for the amendment. We're already starting to work on creating the findings for that submittal, that planning submittal that would go both to us. We'd make a planning submittal to ourselves and as well as to the county. We're already starting to work on that stuff because those findings can kind of can be flexible if council decides to kind of move in any particular, if they pivot to a different direction, those findings for the most part are still pretty standard. So we're starting to get that work done in preparation for that application.
Could you elaborate on the findings phase?
Yeah. What I'm talking about, you mean?
Yeah, a little more detail on what that means.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So any planning submittal, any planning requests that we have, it comes along with approval criteria, and we're required to make findings of compliance or non-compliance with those standards. And so with a urban growth boundary amendment, the findings are pretty voluminous. So we're getting going on those early, and they have to be, defensible because we want them to withstand any appeal that could happen. So when I say findings, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the consultant has kind of started off that's part of their scope of work is to prepare those for that submittal.
So would that be somewhat similar to what we see sometimes when we get some of the documents from you, and it'll have a whole list of different things, this is it, that's it, this doesn't apply, that doesn't apply, except it's on steroids and probably about 40 pages longer.
Correct, yeah, and it's, compliance with all the statewide planning goals, which there's a whole set of criteria within each one of those goals that we have to demonstrate compliance with. In addition to our comprehensive plan goals and things of that nature. So that will be coming your way shortly. So we are in the midst of recruitment for an assistant or associate planner. We're saying either or, depending on the qualifications. If it's somebody entry level, it'd probably be more in the assistant planner range. If somebody with a little more experience, we would hire them as an associate planner. So we're kind of leaving it open-ended, depending on kind of what we see in terms of qualifications. We had over 100 some applications. Now, granted, many of them were probably not qualified. We opened it up pretty widely by advertising it on Indeed.com. I think that really opens it up to quite a few people that are just kind of thrown it in there just on the off chance they might get an interview, but they are really qualified. So we kind of pared it down to folks that had some planning experience, and we also even looked at folks that were recent graduates. Knowing that we had pretty good luck last time with a recent graduate. For the right person, we'd be willing to train them to get them up to speed. But there are a few that have experience as well, and some with Oregon planning experience, which is a bonus because of our unique statewide planning regime. So we had our first 3 interviews today. It was kind of an initial interview. We decided to do a virtual video interview of 7 folks, 8 folks. One of them pulled his application, but so it's kind of an initial screening, and then we're going to bring 3 or 4 in the week of September 8th to the 12th to do a sit-down interview. So we could sure use the help. So Matt and I and Carol are holding down the fort, and learning a lot of what Emmy did and how much she did. We got the initial concepts, design concepts for the Northwest Park from our consultant earlier this week, and really exciting stuff. Some great ideas in there that really use kind of the multi-use facility as the core concept of each one, but also really listening to the feedback that we got from the community at the open house and the stakeholder interviews, and then the big survey that we did. I think we got over 400, maybe it was higher than that. Rebecca, I don't know if you remember how many responses we finally got from that survey on the park. Was at least 400.
Yeah, it's about that, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a great response.
So that was a hockey rink in a big pit that's about 7.5 feet deep, that when you don't do ice, you could fill it with water and use it as a swimming pool. And have perhaps a ramp on the top where you could play pickleball.
It solves all of our problems all at
Yeah,
once.
it's done.
And the fire lookout,
Yeah.
right, our fire tower element, that's taking on
now.
even more importance.
Yeah.
So the first step in that process is to run it through our Parks Board, and we'll run it through by them next week. We'll have the consultant will be in here and making a presentation. We'll get their feedback, and then a week later, you will run it by the council to get your impressions on it. But each concept has kind of there's 3 concepts, and each one has a summer usage and then a winter usage, how they could potentially change by season. We're pretty pleased with the initial kind of concepts they've come up with. I think they'll really generate some good discussion. As far as land use applications, they're fairly steady. We're obviously not getting any big projects right now. We don't just have a whole lot of big parcels waiting to be developed. That's why we're doing the UGB amendment. But we just did issue a decision for the phase 3 of the Woodlands plat, which will extend the road, Sisters Park Drive onto 20, and it'll start to, I think it'll start next week, start seeing some of the pedestrian improvements to allow a safe pedestrian crossing across 20 at that point. I think includes a beacon, rapid flashing beacon, and some signage. So you'll start to see that under construction here soon. Large Commons East and West have submitted both their final plats. Obviously, East is going on, is a little farther ahead than West. I'm not sure West has even started yet, but they've submitted both the plats. So they're getting eager to get to the point where they can start pulling building permits and start building. And then we've continued to have pre-applications for a variety of different new projects coming in the door. Some will become reality, some are just talk, but it's interesting that there's still quite a bit of interest in at least discussing things. And then building permits kind of continue to stay somewhat steady. The cottages that Habitat's doing at Woodlands is driving some of that. And obviously the Habitat's project at Large Commons is also driving that. But I did see a new permit from Sunset Meadows today. So I thought they were kind of shutting down for a while, but good to see another permit coming from them. In a nutshell, what we're doing. Any questions on it?
You know, I think that the hardest thing with your new planner is going to be replacing I think everybody that interacted with them came away with a positive experience and an impression of the city and of the planning department. And hopefully when you find somebody that's qualified, you can find someone with that same sort of a personal interaction ability, because sometimes folks with the skill aren't necessarily real good with the public. Sometimes folks that are good with the public don't have the skill. It's a rare combination, but hopefully you can find someone like that. And I'd encourage that to be the case, because that's the person who's probably going to interface the most with the public.
Yeah, I think more people interacted with Emmy than I did in the community because of the nature of her job. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
That's everybody?
Straightforward, thank you.
No, Joe? Like he left?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we're just down to counselor business. Anyone want to start that off, or I can meet Counselor Predin had sent some notes. I think he wanted us to just read because he wasn't able to make it tonight, so I can start with that. If I can find it.
We have the city recorder read it.
Hmm.
Councilor Peden had submitted some comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I can read it for him if you want. Okay. Yeah, sure. I can find them. Also, I forgot my glasses, so we'll see how this goes.
Need
This-
mine?
This is just, I think I'm okay.
I could appear.
Okay. Counselor Predin, forgive me for being away on vacation since Friday and not being present tonight. The morning I left was day 2 of the flat fire. I have been monitoring closely and keeping in regular contact with city leadership since leaving and have been ready to hustle back to Sisters at a moment's notice. Fortunately, due to the hard work of the 1,400 plus firefighting personnel, fire has been beaten back. Thank you to those firefighters and other volunteers for keeping Sisters safe. My heart goes out to those that lost their homes. Please let me know how I can help. And then he goes on to say, additionally, I want to continue the discussion about the roundabout art with a local artist who has strong community-wide support, who has designed a beautiful bull and rider sculpture and has brought additional money to the table. It is an easy decision for me to support that effort. With no other art even in consideration, I urge my fellow counselors to change their mind and directly approve Dirk Godby's concept to be located in the roundabout. The safety concerns previously presented is absolute hogwash, and this sculpture almost perfectly represents the Western heritage art that we as a council twice previously asked for. Sincerely, Councilor Michael Predin. So that's what he wanted to share tonight in his absence. All right, anybody else have updates?
Well, I
Started,
guess,
or I can start.
yeah, so it's been a busy 2 weeks, but then I realized I felt like I didn't go to any meetings or anything, but I was working quite a bit. After our August 13th meeting, I reached out to several of the proponents regarding the roundabout art to help clarify what the purpose of our workshop was that night, to help answer questions, and just to reach out. I want us to have a good relationship with everybody in our community. And then, of course, with the fire, we've all been pretty busy just focusing on that. And I don't really have too much more to say over the last 2 weeks. Been really busy, but I can't even put it into words. I don't know why.
I think, echoing some of what you've just said, I also met with some of the proponents, and I've also had discussions with several individuals who were pleased that we were deferring the decision until we had an opportunity to examine other options and to give this consideration. I also feel very strongly that since we decided that we were going to establish a art advisory council, that we need to let that group form and do its job before we make a decision that's that important. As to Councilor Predin's comment of hogwash, I reply, double hogwash back at you, buddy, because it is a safety issue. Any of us who live by the fairgrounds or by the elementary school, when people get off the bus at night, they're amped up, they're having a good time, they've been to the rodeo, they're really having fun. And I've been told by the proponents this will be a big draw. It will bring people of the community to see it. Well, when you're getting off the bus at the former elementary school, now SPRD headquarters, you are looking right at it. And somebody or some group of somebody's, I don't care what you say, will think it's going to be really fun to go over there and have their picture taken with it. And people are going to come from all over the world, I've been told. If you come from Europe to see that thing, are you going to be content with taking a picture from across the street? At night, when the large trucks go through that roundabout, I see it on a nightly basis. They're looking at where they're going to have to turn to go towards Bend. And those dual rear wheels in the back ride up on that concrete curb. That's what it's there for. It looks like it's intended to be stood on, and it isn't. It's intended to be driven on. And I'm not willing to risk the life of one individual who comes to this town for serious injury to make a comment that is important to a lot of people, and I get that. I'm not disagreeing with them. I don't have a problem with the road. I don't have a problem with where you are. It just doesn't belong there, and I'm going to stick to that. And I'm going to wait until we have a committee that makes those decisions and hear what they've got to say. So, sorry, Michael, but that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm going to stay.
Any other comments or?
I just want to thank everybody who's been working so hard on the fire, everybody who came to our community. Want to thank the community that showed up last night and gave standing ovations to those people. They were deeply moved. I didn't expect that, the standing ovations. And they were sincere and they were heartfelt and they were spontaneous. And I sat in the back, so I got the good view of the whole room standing up. And it was quite impressive. And I think you were there, sir. You were probably impressed too. Yes. And I think you walked by me about 4 or 5 times, so carrying equipment. So yeah, we're fortunate. We've dodged maybe a bullet. I'm still not 100% sure we're 100% out of the woods, but I do see the levels going up, and the next 2 days have me a little nervous. But and as Councilor, no, excuse me, as Mayor Letts will tell you, I have been spurred into action and have probably taken 8 cubic yards of tree limbs and debris out of my yard for dump trailer loads to Fryer and Redmond. So it got me up and moving, even though I've been talking about it for a long time. To sit here and talk about it in this room, I finally did something. And it looks good. That's the thing. It looks better. You think, oh, I'm going to destroy all my landscaping. Looks a lot better. So
Thank you.
I'm a convert.
I can go where you go.
I don't have anything to add, honestly. I mean,
Okay.
I think
Did you
everything.
have a housing meeting?
Nope.
Houseless meeting?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the first Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Soon to be second.
Okay. A couple of people from a housing group in Astoria, and then the Clatsop County housing manager reached out to me. Kind of forgot about this with everything else going on last week, and just wanted to talk about housing issues, housing ideas, especially around the vacancy fee concept, or similar ideas that Clatsop County. I had just read about Clatsop County doing trying to start a program where they're paying people with second homes to rent them out long term. So it was just a great opportunity to kind of share some ideas and make some connections. We're not by far the only community in Oregon going through a housing crunch that is a side effect of tourism or being an attractive community where people want to spend some time. So it was just a nice opportunity to share some ideas and meet some people in beautiful Astoria. I had the VIT Vision Implementation Team, Sisters Country Vision Implementation Team meeting last week, and the focus was on kids and family, and just kind of more of a session on looking at the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, to addressing and supporting kids and families in our community. So just more a discussion. But had a really great discussion about needs and opportunities, and hopefully we'll get some good notes out of that, and maybe something the city and lots of our other partner organizations can kind of work on and lean in. Again, one of the opportunities is our new Northwest Park that definitely came up on the board. So something for another resource for families and everybody, hopefully coming soon. Kellen Klein at C4C and I put together a Zoom a few days ago of a lot of our nonprofits in Sisters Country. I know that Councilor Pellerin and City Manager Wheeler participated in that. Really, it was just an ability, and Chief Pryor as well. It was kind of twofold. We thought it'd be nice to get a lot of these organizations together on a Zoom, to just update them on what was going on with the fire, and B, just kind of hear what their needs are, if they're seeing any needs, or if there was any resources they had to share. So it was just a very preliminary discussion. I think C4C is gonna, run with that baton and keep having kind of a weekly meeting for a little while. As repopulation, as the term goes, and people make it home and really get a sense of maybe some needs they didn't realize that they had. So obviously it was exciting to hear that the team was working on some information. I talked with Phil Chang, Commissioner Chang today about making sure that the county was maybe putting together some information as well, because most of these people live in the county. So that, hopefully he can get some traction there. We just want to make sure people get their questions answered, because there's a lot of, as they mentioned, there's a lot of weird things to consider, and then, we're not sure what you're gonna walk into when you return home. So I want to make sure that our community partners are really supported in this process, because even though there weren't a lot of home losses, it's still very traumatic to go through, and then the landscape is gonna look a lot different for a while for them, and rapid change is a little hard, so anything we can do to lean in on that. I've been attending the briefings, or the cooperators meetings for the fire ever since Saturday, Zooming in then, and then attending in person. So attending in person's been great, because a lot of time before and after to just talk with partners, some old friends, some new faces. Like I said, any person I can bend their ear, it's defensible space, more money's great, and thanks for the work that has already been done, and that fantastic fire response we got, and the results of that. So I was able to talk to Senator Jeff Merkley. I had a phone message from Representative Bynum. Wyden's representative said that he wanted to call, but she felt like I got enough phone calls already, so, which was fine. Also, the fire was not here, but I know that we're the nexus of it, and so I really appreciate them reaching out. Talked to some representatives from the governor's office today at the meeting as well, and they brought up the meeting that you're participating in tomorrow, Jordan. They wanted to make sure that Sisters was involved in that meeting, so I said that we were. So. So yeah, really just, and I know you heard it before, and you've seen it in our scenarios and stuff, the coordination, and having all these people from outside the area come in and just reiterate, like, wow, you guys are really coordinated here in Central Oregon, and it's just fantastic to hear that. And it's nice to hear that from somebody outside. It's easy to pat our own backs, but that's been great. So. I think that is all I had. Oh, and the other thing is that I just wanted to make sure, this came up in our nonprofit and partner meeting. A little bit of struggle that a lot of our businesses downtown are having. Explore Sisters, made the right decision to not promote tourism. They didn't say don't come, because we didn't have any evacuation yet, but they also stopped promoting, and we're just really more pushing fire information. So depending on the vendor that you talk to, people walking in people's doors has kind of really fluctuated over the last week. So during that, during our cooperators meeting today, I did make a plug to just make sure that now that things have slowed down a little bit, if people are getting tired of those sack lunches from the fire camp, that they're welcome to wander into town, and we got a lot of places ready to welcome them. And
It's a very nice advertisement.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure they knew they were welcome, and I wanted our businesses to. I feel like a lot of our businesses would love to see some of these people come in and just to be able to talk to them and say thank you, and as well. So hopefully we'll see more of those trucks in town, and enjoying our restaurants and our businesses. So I think that is it. Anything else from anyone?
I wanted to ask, how is everybody planning to go to the LOC lunch that's coming here? I mean, is that like, is that?
Right. I
is
kind
that
of
what
lost
this
track of
is
that
like?
with all that's going
Like
on.
it's nice to support them by all showing up,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
small cities meeting on the 19th, I think, maybe of January. September, whatever month. Yeah.
Right now, January sounds
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
September 19th.
September 19th, yeah. So, and again, that's it's fine. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, cause it's just informational.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah. there's-
yeah, people can
Yes.
zoom in as well. And yeah, I was planning on attending. I believe Carrie or Rebecca are working with LOC on planning that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
You keep pushing some stuff out on it because with what's going on right now, it quickly goes way down on the email list.
Sure.
And I'm sure there will be some more emails sent out on some other topics very soon too. So, because I think it's important from my perspective that we show up and support this. It's in our town. And I certainly am willing to do it if I'm here and available.
Yeah.
And don't have a conflict, but I could easily schedule a conflict because so much is going on that it disappears off the radar real quick.
Yeah. I found it very helpful that, it's small cities, right? And we're so very different in the region because it includes, Wheeler County and, it's Lapine and Metolius and Culver and us, and we have a lot of differences, but, boy, we have a lot of similarities, as well,
We'll have something to talk about.
Yeah. We had a lot of, what's the thing I heard lately? It's just, there's no such thing as a small problem in a small town.
It's true.
Everything is, even the small problems are a challenge when you don't have a lot of staff and people, but thankfully we have a lot of partnerships. So,
It's still complicated.
Yeah.
Things are still complicated.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, all right.
Well, and I think that it's a good example of that is in this small town, we try to get along with each other. We really work very hard at it. And when that doesn't occur, then I think that we had some citizens that were uncomfortable speaking the other day. They said that to me, a number of them. And I think they could have spoken. I think they would have been received okay. But it's sometimes you have to kind of remind everybody that we're small. And so whatever we're talking about, everybody knows about. And so it's not Eugene, it's not Portland, it's not San Francisco where something happens in a corner and the rest of the town doesn't know about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Oh, my neighbors know when I cut my trees down.